My guy's my warrior, I'm a hero. Jesus, you are my God. My guy's my warrior, I'm a winner. He's still before me. He's still behind me. He's moving everywhere. My God, my protector. No way they shall gather. 7 ways they shall scatter. My enemy will fall under my feet. That's right. My God has lifted me higher. My God is my warrior, I'm a leader. Oh, my God is my warrior, I'm a hero. Warrior, warrior, warrior. My God is my warrior, I'm a winner. Jesus, you my God. My God is my warrior, I'm a hero. Oh, winner, winner, winner. Winner, winner, winner. Winner, winner, winner. You are a winner. I am a winner. Winner, winner, winner. Winner, winner, winner. You are a winner. Hey, the moment you know you have killed me before my time, but not this time that I am more than a conqueror. I am untouchable. I am unremovable. I am unshakable and undefeatable. Moto, moto, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Holy God, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Holy Ghost fire. Moto, moto, moto. Holy God, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Hey. Moto be fire. Are you ready to declare and decree that? Are you ready to go? Come on. To the right, moto. To the left, moto. Moto, moto, moto. To the front, moto. To the back, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Holy God, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Come, come, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Sing, sing, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Tap, tap, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Dance, dance, moto. Hey, come on. My guy's my warrior, I'm a leader. Warrior, warrior, warrior. My guy's my warrior, I'm a hero. Hey, my guy's my warrior, I'm a winner. I got my Jesus. He's my hero. He gave me victory. My guy's my warrior, I'm a leader. Oh, moto, moto, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Jump, moto. Sing, moto. Shout, moto. Praise, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Holy God, moto. Moto, moto, moto. Fire, fire, fire. Fire, fire, fire. Fire, fire, fire.
Okay. Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to the last and final segment of today's edition of our regular programming right here on the Liberia Public Radio. To our viewers and listeners, we say good evening and I welcome, as usual, discussing issues that are priority in our country, our community, and right before our own feet is paramount. And so we are here this evening in continuation of our community commitment to have a conversation here on a lot of things that are unfolding in our country and what we need to know our surrounding as well. Even right here in our own, right here in our own USA, a lot is unfolding. That's so suggests the world is significantly changing and there are a lot of things happening that we need to keep up to speed. I want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for being here this evening. As usual, I'm Alphonso Zean Soe. The liberal progressive Samson to is on the leave of absence without even official communication. So that itself is a serious policy violations of this network. I'm not sure we're going to be his fate when he returns, but that we're going to talk in And that's how the laborers, that's how they operate. And that's how they operate. They feel they should, everything should be flexible. They should do their will when they want to. And that's not how society works. And that's not how institution work. And I know some of his liberal friend here will be reaching out to tell him that, oh, you wasn't on today. Mr. Soe tries to bat you. You easy, yeah, I say it. So in his absence, I can do the same. Well, very shortly later, our contributor, they're going to be joining me here to have a conversation to install the president on the why it's on a tour all day today, inspection, visited my own former school, my alma mater, that's the Wallen V.S. Tutman High School. He was on the campus today. We yet to know the details and all other institutions tours. It's sort of new event. Those tour and groundbreaking to be saying then. We want the president to work. I prefer him going to visiting schools, hospitals, and looking at the roads conditions than to go in studio, because we have a lot to do. After the civil crisis is reconstruction. So when I see him visiting schools and visiting institutions, government establishments of area, then it gives me a hope potentially of something would be put in place to address, to alleviate those problems. I more prefer that, and neither am I suggesting how his visit will bring in something, but I think it's better it's wise to get a first-hand information. So that's what government should do. Okram yourself, get to know what is happening. So when he's doing that, I'm happy about that. When I see him going into studio and singing when there's no need to sing, then it's appalling. Then that's sort of it's a hair scratching thing, and that's what got this guy pissed. The professor is standing by it. I'm going to be bringing him. But he's going to studio also get on the nerves of other legal practitioners in the country. And that's where this guy came in. I will be right back.
This is True FM. I'm in the presence of criminal lawyer, Councillor Arthur Johnson. Councillor Johnson, want to say welcome to this special interview.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. The president has come up with another new message, and you as a criminal lawyers and as a citizen of the country, you are seen to be embarrassed by his new music. What do you make of it?
Yes, Toby, my concern is this. This is the fourth song that our president is making. Okay. It is not about questioning his talent to sing. Okay. It is about the situation and the timing. Okay. It is just like this, Toby. You leave home, you go back home, you left your home hungry, the children are hungry, and I go back as a father, I beat the children all lying hungry, and I start to sing and dance and celebrate without carrying food. Okay. They feel disappointed about me as a father in the land. So is the situation now. Okay. We can have people are suffering. People are actually suffering in this country. Nothing is happening. Okay. You have serious social problems affecting the country. Okay. Problems or conditions that affect a significant number of our people by interfering with their individual and collective goals. And so it requires a collective action. But when we have our president in the presidency sinking again, as if there is nothing, it's like he's ignoring the situation, is what is obtaining in the country. It's a provocation. It sounds as a sign of provocation to the Liberian people. The president needs to understand and focus on dealing with the mounting social conditions and problems that are affecting the life and the generation of our children to come in this country.
But Councillor Johnson, are we not aware that this president is a star before becoming president?
He was a football star. He's now the president. Okay. He's the president. He's not a singer. He's not a footballer again. Okay. He's the president. He's the father of the nation. He's the philosopher king. Okay. He should be the philosopher king. He should be the president to lead the country.
For your statement, it appears that you are embarrassed by it.
Obviously, I am. It's not only being embarrassed, but frustrated. And worried about the future and the destiny of the country.
So as a lawyer, why are you concentrating on doing?
The president doesn't stop what he's doing. Okay. It's like he feels that everything is all right. And there is nothing all right. He saw that from the results of the election. So if the president doesn't think about stopping this thing, okay, to sing again another song which may be the fifth song, I think we will have to file a petition for the issuance of the rank of mandamus against the president for him to do the Liberian people's job as president of the country.
Do you think your action will be legal?
It will be legal. A petition for the issuance of the writ of mandamus is a writ asking the court to compel an official of government, ordering him to do what is legally, officially bound that they should do based on the official capacity of the office that they represent. And so this would be the step that some of us will be taking for history to record these things. But the president has to be aware. People around the president need to tell the president that things are not well. The country is degenerating. There are serious fundamental problems. Read our political science will dictate and understand from the recent elections to know that the people have problems with the government and that they.
I am Alphonso Zean Soe, and I will be right back. That's Councillor Arthur Johnson. Our invitation is so long been out to Councillor Johnson to bring him on here to explain, to give us the legal argument on his writ of McDermott's legislative premise of vow to file against the president if for any reason he decides to go in studio. And that is the legal time is to compel someone to do their job. Does he have a legal stand? Is it the Constitution where it gives that backing? That is so much unfolding. Very shortly, my Professor Zawlo will be here. And then, of course, Amos George. The lower house of government in Liberia, day before yesterday, I voted and elected Fanatic Councillor Fanatic Kofa, thus giving the ruling establishment CDC a complete and absolute control of the lower house of government. I haven't seen, probably is out there, let me not be judgmental here, I haven't seen any statement coming from the opposition side column, even though they have very less to do that because their representations in the lower house is very minimum. So I don't think that's something they don't really have control, because in the house it's all about the figure, it's all about the numbers. The vote is what count. So if you don't have the number, I feel bad. There's nothing you can do, and this is why I see the majority leader before anything comes to Congress or it goes in there to get to the floor, he or she, the leader of a party there in control, will make sure to do a lobby to say, okay, Mr. President, because it's all about supporting the agenda of the president. We see that happening here. So Fanatic Kofa is the new Deputy Speaker of the Republic of Liberia. What does that suggest to us as a Liberian, as a country? But are we also fair to mention, so we should look at the patterns of our history in terms of how we give political reward to those that are seeking political power? Good afternoon. I'm Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio, based in the USA, but currently visiting Liberia. Time is fast spent. Let me bring in the professor here, Professor Asisi Labos Zawlo, is a senior contributor of the Liberia Public Radio and a very strong, committed seditions, CDC, the ruling establishment in Liberia. Professor, good evening. Can you elevate your camera a little bit so my people will? Okay.
Let me see.
Yes. Okay. Now we are on the level. Oh man, I love that. I saw this this afternoon. What is that? Is that who won the counter me game? Says that the semi? My counter was whipped again, 2-1. The message I received, it put me to sleep, and that's what I even I was sick in the head. I like, oh my goodness, what happened? Good evening, Professor.
Good evening, Mr. Soe. Thanks again for bringing us on. No, the Magibi soccer team, the Magibi football team today lost to Wapolu, but our kickball team, which is the ruling champions, did very well. They all won their game. So we have one more game to play in the preliminary rounds. We have to play against Grand Cru, which is a tall order. We can still qualify. We have to win Grand Cru by 2 goals to qualify. Otherwise, if we win Grand Cru by 1 goal, there has to be some raffle or some draw to decide the two teams that come from there. So we remain hopeful.
Politicians are so smart, so sensitive. I'm talking about my team going on, but then he tried to remake history here, even though we lost, but the female champion team will be. There you go. You need 2 goals to qualify.
Yeah, for the football team. Yeah,
because I hope you guys get an oxygen bottle to keep that life support system in place because.
Yeah. One of the things when it comes to the county meet, for example, for Magibi, the folks in Magibi will tell you that I have targeted my support at the girls because I believe that the way we do sports in Liberia, we do not encourage the women's sports. So when the Magibi people approached me initially and they were making budget, there was no budget for the female team. So I raised the red flag. I said, hold on. Why is it the girls, you guys not asking for the girls? So we're going to do that next week. I said, well, I'm waiting for that. So, I'm following the women teams very closely. We are champions right now. And
the women team, Magibi women team is a champion?
Yeah, we're the defending champions, yeah.
Oh, well, I think so. All resources needs to be, that's a lot. I'm telling you, football team right now, oh man, I don't know. And don't get me wrong, not that I'm not praying. Well, pray, you can pray, but that other prayer there, it comes, the skill aspect should be there. If the guys are not fit, if the guys are not prepared, I don't know. I haven't seen the Grand Crew team playing, but crew men then when it comes to Tabata in the sand on gravel, they are equipped.
The only thing that we are hoping on is that the teams joining out of Kakata to Bopolu was a little bit rocky. There was a lot of issues about budgetary support and player welfare were not addressed. So our hope is that, maybe the players were not too rested for the first game. And so maybe for the second game, they'll be well rested. And knowing that they are playing with the back against the wall, they might bring the best out of them. But I'll be very honest with you. I remain hopeful, but I don't see us qualifying, actually.
He remain hopeful, but you not see her qualifying.
Who has a very good team?
Yeah. This morning our On My Money edition, and the Secretary General of the Grand Cadet Sports Association, got a text, and my nerves almost broke down. Said, oh, Mr. Soe, not a good thing. I was like, what happens again? And then he was acting just as you did, trying to give justifications of the defeat and all of that first, and then come to it. So I said, oh man, let the cat out of the bag. What you say happened on for man, like BB, some kind of what you say. I try going to Google can't even tell me Google can't tell me the meaning. Like, oh, this is what happens. I'm like, okay. And as usual, we always this blame game is always there. It's few things that happen and all sort of stuff. Like, okay, but bottom line here is lack of preparation.
Yeah,
I think that's the bottom line. Lack of preparation. And that preparation aspect includes, like you just rightfully mentioned, taking care of the welfare of the team. It is an annual commitment, and I felt very bad. You were here yesterday. I put out something prior to that game. I tried to do like a fundraiser for our own county and support this thing. And believe me, the 1 million Granadians that are in the country, not even a single, if they did it without knowing, that's fine. But according to what I received, nobody. And then when I see people playing, watching the live game, go Grand Gila, go Lofa, go Grand Basel, how are they going? When you're not even willing to spend dime on your own county soccer squad. Let's put aside politics a little bit. For God's sake, this is an annual commitment. It is the original duty. It is a national duty to enhance capacity building, to enhance skills, physical therapy, fitness, and all of that. And we can even contribute to the county squad, to the county team, but yet we bashed in when it comes to politics, time for political season, we want them to go our way. That is all clear. Okay. Well, I leave my own with God. The man gone, so I don't even know what's the fate of the female soccer squad, but it is what is it. I wish you luck.
Thank you.
I wish you luck. I don't know what's gonna happen. Hopefully later you will tell me you will tell me at the end of the day what happened. But that's a very your team now is like a piece of cloth between the scissors. You need two goals to win.
Yeah.
At least when you say a draw, say I say, okay, let's start fasting and praying, Professor. But the other one, yeah, I don't have my need not too strong now to go on the need to pray, say, well, man, give me do it this way here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's return home here. We had a conversation here before. Hopefully I will get his picture here. Councillor Fanatic Kofa. Councillor Fanatic Kofa. He was originally with the Liberal group, Liberty Party, and then he crossed over to what? CDC, your party, right?
Yeah.
And we had a conversation here. I'm not sure. Maybe let's history rewrite itself. I don't think you're a favorite of him. This guy, he's a convicted felon here in the USA. But then when you look at it again, you try to walk back your position to your argument, look at the strength of Liberia, the audacity of Liberia to electorates, as to how we reward people, whether we can flip, we turn the world upside down, take the bad to be good and take the good to be bad. What am I saying here? President Charles Gange Taylor, he also came from South, and he went to Liberia, and Liberian people, he took a war, and not just only that, and he decided to contest the presidency, and Liberian people say, you know what? What are you broke gay? You don't broke gay. I will vote for you. And he became president. This is the guy who said he wore the orange suit here to a felon, but he's now the deputy speaker. He cannot come to this country here. That for sure I know.
I think he can come. I think he comes.
He can come?
Yeah. He served his term.
He served his term?
Yeah, he can come. I think he was here not long ago. I think he was here somewhere.
He came here before. But on the basis of good governance and the thinkings of our people, the electorate, and I was kind of surprised because the release by Front Page Africa did not retrospect who this guy was, what he experienced, that sort of selective journalism, and that's where the frustrations of ordinary Liberian comes in, the manner in which the media, I don't know which way except if African Star newspaper try to give a historical backdrop of Fanatic Kofa. Are you happy with him, even though he's with your party as a deputy speaker?
Let me talk about the Front Page Africa first. That's one of the problems we have with Front Page Africa. When I was back then, when I was Secretary General of ULAB, the author, the editor of Front Page Africa, refused to carry any story regarding ULAB because he said that ULAB was not critical of the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. So he refused to carry any story about ULAB. So that's the kind of person Rodney Shea is. He's not very objective. So the reason why you see he's not going to publish anything but Fanatic Kofa, they're buddies, they're friends. They're friends. And so that's the problem we have with the press in Liberia, where the press is easily bought. So you can't even read or watch anything in the news, on the radio or on the television and want to take it seriously because the press has been corrupted. Now, when it comes to Fanatic Kofa, I would say this. If I was given the choice to vote where his name was on the ballot, I would not vote for him. I won't vote for him for so many reasons. And I understand. He did the act, he committed the act, he served the time, and he is now redeemed. I understand that part. But here's what I'm looking at. Fanatic Kofa comes to the United States, for example, the US Congress to go and visit with other congressmen here. And the congressman will want to read about him before, the visit. And he goes and read, he's a convicted felon for deceiving, for frauding elderly people. That's a very ugly optic. He's not going to be well received and well respected. But I cannot question the judgment of the legislature. I hope they took all of those things into consideration and voted for him. But I wouldn't have voted for him if I had a choice. I don't think he's a good representative of Liberia.
Is that so? Let's play into the minds of the ruling establishment in terms of how his name too was placed on the ballot. To first of all, because I know those are individual, but you must have the party support back before they can put forward. Those are some part of the vetting process. Do you think the party to critically look at his past history? Because at the end of the day, they are the government in charge. Do you think they consider that, or it's just the same old way those Berry boys try to do things? Capitol Hill governments always try to manipulate the system. On what basis they too say, okay, let's give this guy to go ahead?
I'll be concerned what the opposition did. Because I don't think the CDC has an absolute majority in the Senate. I mean, the House of Representatives. So for Nati Kufa to have been elected, the opposition people would have had to vote for him overwhelmingly. So I wonder whether the opposition had a little vetting process. And
this bring into questions of these people that prefers to be or how you call them independent candidates, but the caucus with specific political parties. And I'm not sure the strength of the opposition, but what I'm a little bit surprised at is I haven't seen a statement. Probably the statement is out there and I'm making a wrong calculation, but I've not seen the statement. That this is where the leadership of the opposition should have even come in and point out some of these things here. They who are working towards good governance, to have somebody as a deputy speaker, like you said, okay, let's agree he served his term. But you and I know right in this country here, when you even do those things, that the very first thing that people are going to demand of you, you got to lead. They will tell you to go. And the media are going to be in the forefront. The camera is going to be before you. You remember this guy here, Anthony Winott, this former governor who was a rising star for New York. What his name? Oh my goodness, I just forgotten your name. That's Elias Spitzer. Yeah, you remember some of their involvement and the significant role played by media. I tried calling a friend who is with Front Page, Leonard Dolu, who is on the African side. There's like, wait a minute. All that I see on about Fanatic Kofa is peanut butter and jelly. This guy, he this, he that. Yet we respect his educational credential. No questions about that. But the other aspect that readers or people out there needs to know, because it reflects the good governing aspect of our government. Nothing like that was put in place. Nothing that the other readers did not have the opportunity to know much deeper of these people. People count on the media. They count on the media to bring real news. And unfortunately, the media in Liberia, like here, has been polarized, and their way of doing things is just absurd. So, and I didn't see a statement from the opposition. So does that mean that I don't know?
The opposition is fine with Fanatic Kofa. I think the opposition understands who Fanatic Kofa is. Don't be surprised if Fanatic Kofa become a member of another political party at an appropriate time in history.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
And, I agree. He served his term, you know, and I appreciate the fact that he's on a path to recovery and redemption. I congratulate him on that. I respect his ambition, his zest and fervor. I respect all of those things. If I was him, I would not have placed myself on the ballot. I think serving the people of Grand Cru is a sufficiently high position that he should have kept, rather than adding, you know, the position of deputy speaker, which brings the country into disrepute. You know, that's something I would say. But you know what? Again, like I always say here, that they say we're not talking about local county newly elected senator. Equally so, I don't think Brian Samoka or Barney Sherman should be sitting in the House of Senate, should be sitting in the Senate. I don't think so. I don't think those people represent our country. So, but again, the voters, you know, like in the case of Senator Brian Samoka, it's the voters who elected him. In the case of Barney Sherman, the voters elected him. A Funadi Koba case is a different situation where you have people who you expect have the information, a small body of people who you expect have the information would blow it like that. That's scary.
Yeah, Mr. Flomo, Charles Flomo. Yeah, and that's what we like about people who follow us here. They also they also check us here, and we are open to that sort of a critique. And that's a very good and valid point you raise. We have to do it. We don't even talk about it, but like just what the professor said, and this all it's kind of a little bit different. And I agree with what the professor said because that's the decisions of the people that love our country to go all going in there. But even and if the electors are making wrong choices, people that we expect, we anticipate to do the right thing. Yeah, we're talking about Madiki or whatever with LSCC and all of that. But then they are like, they are the House of Elders. Those people, the 103 men and women in both houses of government. Believe me, if that Capitol building, if it is strong, if it is in tight, the executive branch of government will function well because part of their job is to check the executive branch of government. But they are there. If they begin to circumvent the rules, when they begin to compromise the rules, for which the Liberian people that we voluntarily or involuntarily elected to see to, if they fail to check their own, one of their own, then how can they check me? How can they make an argument against me? Because it's like, hey, man, you get something in your eyes. You need to clean all your eyebrows or whatever before you even, they're not doing it. So, Mr. Flomot, it's a good thing. That's a good question. I've even extended an invitation to Brannon. Brannon is, I believe, was my former boss. We worked somewhere before. But at his own timing, he will come, we can't force him. That is. But it just tells us as a people, as a nation, where we are heading, and we all have to make wrong choices for the country, and we expect miracle to take place. That sort of divine intervention is not what God can just good and throw out there. African Star newspaper really called him out. He spoke out here. Now, is it fair to argue that this balance of power? Is it fair? Is that a ban? Because you have a speaker who's a sedition, you have a deputy speaker. So the ruling established predominantly, 100% sample percent is in control of the lower house. What happened in the upper house of government?
The upper house is also controlled by CDC, right?
Yeah, for now, but we have a new members. I can for sure tell you in the coming days, a week, Abachi will be out of work.
I think Abachi, he said that he's not up for re-election until what, 2020?
Hey, come, Professor, come on. How can you say you will be up for re-election when you have the opposition? So he's making a good political calculation.
Maybe it's based on the rules of the Senate. So I don't know whether every time you have a new Senate, new legislature, you have to have a re-election of the leadership. No, but the only reason why they're electing the deputy speaker is because the former deputy speaker. I
know he left, but he can contest. I don't think there's nothing forbidding him, but he knows very well with the opposition and those other people all added up, it diminishes the number of the.
What I'm saying is that I'm not sure there's going to be an election for a president pro tempore in the Senate. Is it required to have one?
Oh yeah, there will be the election after the first term. Once there is a new incoming lawmakers, there all will be.
There's only one or so. Okay, how many?
Senator.
Yeah. Wait, was senatorial elections? Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We yet to know.
So yeah, but again, I tell you the truth. Don't be surprised. I will be very surprised if President Pro Tem Alpha does not keep his seat. I'll be shocked.
So, Liberia always full of surprises. You're quite correct. Liberia always full of surprises. So something can come. Okay, so let's see. Your president, or our president, Dr. Weah, he was on an extensive tour today, and I said, I prefer to see him going to seaside schools, maybe roads or whatever infrastructure, with the hope visiting there gives me a clue that the government is in the process or is wanting to do something, then going to studio to have Arthur Johnson and others talking about trying to fight a writ of McDermott's and all of that. He was on a tour here. What is he trying to do here? Is he just on his same old traditional thing, or he's trying to bring back the zeal or the directions of his government in terms of development? What is he trying to do?
Look, first of all, let me just talk about Arthur Johnson first. Arthur Johnson should practice winning cases. He was a senior lawyer for the Access Recovery team. He did not secure even one prosecution before I even talk about conviction. You remember him? He was all over the airwaves talking about how he was going to arrest and recover $4 billion for the country. He recovered zero. But more embarrassingly, he did not even secure one proper prosecution. I'm not talking about conviction. So while he's talking about the president not focusing on his job, he needs to focus on his job as a prosecutor, as a lawyer, to at least win some cases. He got no history of winning cases. So that's one thing. Now, when it comes to the president taking the tour today, it doesn't surprise me because I know
he's good at that, visiting.
Yeah, but besides that, I know the president's vision for today. He visited MCSS schools.
Yeah,
I know the president's vision for MCSS schools because I have first-hand information about that, and so I know that he has had great plans for those schools, and I wasn't shocked about some of the instructions he provided.
For him, lines of his visit, Professor, you know, what is he? What he's trying to do here?
He's trying to make sure that the students in, like, first of all, the president just completed a renovation of Lango Lepe High School in Kakata. They renovated the whole thing, and then not long ago they completed a renovation of Keneja, I think, elementary school or so. So the president is just trying to provide better educational opportunities for Liberian children. The government of Liberia has a $48 million grant to improve the quality of education in the country. Under that $48 million grant, there's provision to provide, like I've been saying, technology to schools, even the rural areas. And so this is just a continuation of the president's vision for education in Liberia. Remember, the president reversed a trend. Prior to his ascendancy to the presidency, Liberian students were the laughing stock of the West African region when it comes to WAEC. For the last two administration of WAEC exam, Liberian students have exceeded in their involvement. They have surpassed the performance of other countries, which is the first time it's happening since we became part of WASC. We've been taking WASC exam. You know, so the president is just trying to continue his drive towards improving quality education in the country. And so I think that's the first you are seeing. I know the president has plans to get us out of Monrovia and visit more schools, visit more markets, visit more, hospitals and health clinics and health centers to get a better understanding of the plight of Liberian people and to be able to take on a hands-on approach to fixing those problems.
Okay. So what has been the problem, the struggling aspect of this government from time to time is their message, how to get their message. What we see in this 2021, the government is will refine her message to keep focus instead of being distracted and kind of dwell on the policies and things that the government wants to do instead of always in the business of focusing on damage control and leaving the message of the government. Is that something, do you think there was a lesson learned from the 2017 that this government favor in its direction?
I hope so. I hope so. Look, one of the things I've said here, and I've said it repeatedly, is that the people responsible for messaging the achievement of this government are not doing the government, the president, and the people of Liberia a good job. This government most of the time is on the defensive, reacting to bad news stories. So then the good stories are just shrugged under the rug. It wasn't long ago that they released the WASC results for Liberian schools. Where do you hear it? It was not even basically spoken about in the press. You understand? It wasn't spoken about the president.
The government has a responsibility. They should take
it. That's what I'm saying. So the government did not speak about it. The opposition will not celebrate the government accomplishment. So the government has to find a way to communicate its achievements and policies to the people of Liberia. I think that's something that the government needs to work on. You know, there are a lot of people who always come and tell me that, oh, you do a good job explaining this and explaining that. I'm not a government official. So people can believe me, but people would like to hear that from the official Liberian government to communicate some of the policies, you know. I always talk about the 48, I've been talking about the $48 million grant. Did you hear about it before? No. Because the president responsible for is not communicating it to the public.
Yeah. All right. You know, Professor, you've been with this network for quite a while here. We allow the views and opinions of our onliners to form part of our discourse, to form part of our conversation, because it's not about it's not about us, not you, not me. I'm just here as a facilitator and to just get words out of you. What is more important is those that are taking off their precious time to listen to see what is happening within their own country. Let me bring this comment out here by Ms. Priscilla Command Myers. This is what she's tweeting here on the online here. So the money the president is using, is it his own money or taxpayer money? I thought the professor should know better. It is taxpayer money, so it is government project. So before you respond to that, I was listening to a sister network Spawn, was a day before yesterday. And now Senator-elect Edwin Melvin Snow was making that argument when a question came about whether he would reduce his salary, and he said no, and Darius Dillon were pushing him, Senator Dillon, this and that. But I believe he does have a valid argument that if the executive branch of government, when they try to undo, this is a president's initiative, it must be like the government initiative. And that has some sort of level of sense in that, because when it becomes an individual detachment, then it also, according to him, it pressures the lawmaker. You as a senator, you as a representative, and that's one of the reasons people from their constituencies go to them and say, do this, which of course it has that. Yeah, I'm in favor of reductions of salary, but I see that as a short-term basis. Because what happened, we reduce the salary today, we say, let everybody take up by 200, 400, 500. And down the road, the economy going to get ugly again. Will we come back, or should it be only? But I think it is the work of the government, the financial or the economic team, to come out with a strategic policy plan that will address the long-term economic stability of the country. I know that the money they're making is outrageous, considering what the little Liberian, average Liberian, what they live with. But don't you think, and Priscilla point here, and what his name, Melvin Snow, the idea of the president is carrying on this project here, electrification city, is the government. That's the government of the Republic of Liberia. I will feel much more comfortable if, like your foundation, those are the people who should carry the pride, not the government, not the head of the government. This is the president project. This is this person project. So how can we distinguish what is for the Liberian people, taxpayer money? How can we distinguish that?
Yeah, but here's the thing. First of all, Elvin Melvin Snow is a young, very popular young man, but I wouldn't say that about his brains. The kind of reasoning he provided is suspect, weak, and ludicrous. So, in order for you, because you want, when your constituents come to you, you can give them something. So that means you want a higher pay. That's not what Liberian people want. The Liberian people are looking for solutions to their problems that are all encompassing. As a sitting lawmaker, you should be thinking about finding solutions and not just about providing relief to individuals for a day. I have this conversation a lot with people in Margibi. Most of the time when I'm doing something, people come up and say, oh, this man wants to run, this man wants to run, that's why he's doing this thing and stuff like that. And I tell people, look, the Liberian politicians have created a situation in the country wherein they cannot win votes based on their ideas, their policies. So they rely on buying votes.
Okay, let me hold you there. As the electors, are they also in the business of embracing vision platforms? They don't count that. They don't ask the people questions, and they are not willing to answer those questions.
But that's the thing about it. So electors on one end, they got needs also sometimes, immediate needs. And the politician goes to them and tell them, say, look, I'm going to give you 20 cups of rice. You got a real need over there. You will take it. And so that's why I polluted our political system. But that's not what it should be like. But yes, another. So you look, I get calls upon calls from people in Kakata, and sometimes I get even threats. People send me threats that, oh, I know you're running. We ask you for something, you don't do it.
What is running business? Where are you running going? Where they say you're running going?
That's the point. I don't know why they want me to. What they're running to go? But anyway, I haven't even thought about that yet. Anyway, we receive these kind of things from people who are telling you that, look, because you plan to run, so you should do this for them. But let me talk about the president's project. Let me talk about this stuff you talk about the president's project. No, it's not the president's money. Do you think about it? Do you think that a deranged individual like Donald Trump can put together an economic policy for the U.S.? Donald Trump? You think so? But who is claiming the glory for whatever achievement he had on the economic front? What do they say? Do they say that U.S. government project?
Are you willing to compare Donald Trump's scenario with our scenario here?
What I'm trying to say to you is that whenever there's a policy implemented by government during the tenure of a particular president, that policy goes out as the president's policy. So when these things are done,
but the light that is being light on this and the light that is being placed out there, that the computation, the interpretation, even from the government folks, do you think they should retweet their way of?
I think they should communicate the way they communicate it. The reason why people are
afraid, president project, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, they can say president's. You know the reason why people are afraid? You have president who ran the country for over 170 something years, did little or nothing.
There you go. Okay.
So they are afraid that when you celebrate one president accomplishing so much in 3 years, then you make the other president look like they didn't have anything to do, which is a fact. Mr. Salih had on average $700 million coming into the country every year for 12 years. What did she do with it? Tell me. It was President Doe who came to power before the market women could know that the market didn't have to be made from zinc. It was President Doe who came and changed and narrated that all our markets didn't have to be built from zinc. They could build concrete walls with decent covering on it.
So this is what you're still doing here to me. You are giving salad dressing questions, salad dressing answer. I'm a country boy from Grandview. If you bring one bottle here, I don't eat salad. I'm not the other people will come to the land and facing people. You need vegetable, you need it. Come on. When I get my cassava and stuff like that and things like that, let me bring in missing here because the professor is unwilling to admit. And that's what that's the problem with these politicians. I'm missing Ty. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Soe. Good evening, Professor. And thanks for having me.
Okay, so let me remake the question here. Perhaps I might get an answer, and I know you guys. I hope George will be here. Are you a fan of the government of Liberia doing stuff, and we have supporters of the president or government officials taking a bullhorn, like Nathaniel Falamagi, the president lighting the car range in the city, blah, blah, blah. That's the responsibility of the government to make sure that the citizens are cared for, that infrastructure, basic necessities are all in place. Is it that important to create that identity politics to say this is President Weah? I will know it is under his administration that if electricity is restored, if good pipe-borne water is restored, I don't have to go in the street there and the president, this is a president project. So how do we distinguish the president project from that of the government of Liberia responsibility? Do you agree with their soundbite, their argument?
Well, I don't agree with the argument at all. I mean, a personal project must use personal finances. You can't use the people's money and claim glory for it as your property or as your investment.
We say use people money here. We say use people money. Who money?
People.
Using the government money, the country's money. It's like people will try to claim the road from Monrovia all the way to Bowater, and say, "Oh yeah, this is a Toba project." It was not Toba project. It was a government project. If government is continuous, after this government leaves, whoever comes over can continue that project if it is not completed. If it's a government project, if it's personal project, then whoever government come over afterward do not have to complete it. Then we have a whole incomplete project in Liberia because we got different presidents claiming different things. This is what is stopping our country. We got to stop the mentality where we think that this person did it, or because this person doing it, so it is this person's project. It's not a personalized thing. The government is not no lead of personal. The government is the people's property. You got the people's money. You do the development for the people. It becomes the people's development. It becomes the government development. We will ascribe it to you. Oh, under the time of President Weah, all these things took place. Yes, that us ascribing it to you. When you claim identity for it, you are telling us that you are putting your own money, your personal money into it. Okay, let me ask the next question. Since the professor is saying that, so for the sum of unit that the president built as a personal property, that government money he used, can we make that exception to that? Because these are all personal projects now.
Okay.
So
there are other folks here now. And that's what I like about this guy, a Facebook user. Okay, but this is what Mr. Pay is saying. Anthony Charles Pay. So, Mr. Soe, the problem I have with the president is that let him stop building houses and pay attention to agriculture. Okay, that's another school of thought. Let him stop building houses and pay attention to agriculture. Agriculture play major role to play within our human society today. Yet he's doing what of building roads, hospitals, school, and etc. Okay, then what Facebook users say, what is the where is it? You talk about what's it? Okay, what are you guys going to say about Obama?
Yeah.
When the professor Racking is in his favor, let me bring him back to neutralize that quickly. So Amos George is Atlanta, is a senior contributor of the Liberia Public Radio. George, just have you situate a little bit, and then you can
I'm calling as the president.
somebody monitor it on. You just got to lower it a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Now, Facebook user now throw sour milk or lime in my jaw here. What will you guys say Obamacare? Obamacare is, I believe, is just the name of the government initiative attached to his name. Let's put those things in the sector here. This guy is trying to create a controversial issue here on this network here this evening. And he has a valid point. So how can we weigh those things?
Wait, let me say, how you doing?
Yeah, first we have what like the electricity or what I call it, road medicine and all of those sort of stuff here.
But that's the same point I was making about the Trump thing. When people speak about some of the things that happened to the U.S. economy, the jobs that were created, they said Trump created those jobs. Does that mean that Trump was going to every corporation and using his ideas to create a job? He owns those jobs? No. It's just a way of expressing or attaching accomplishment, development to the sitting president. It doesn't mean that's the president's property. When the president we are leased from power, those schools that's been built and they're being duped or the president's project will not be for President Weir.
But I think people have
how many schools? Well, let me see. What are the schools President Weir built?
That's the thing. I'm not talking about him. That's not the focus. Whatever thing he does, that's what I meant.
Oh, no, I want to.
It will not be. I can come to talk about a lot of schools he built. Even McGivie County just completed 2 elementary schools. But anyway, they just completed Lango Lepe High School. They just renovated Kenenja School, which has been there deplorable for years. But I could go more and more. Getting ready, the students in Sano County, I think Grand Gila and a couple other counties, not only will they be going to school free, they'll be assigned a cell phone. The girls will be assigned a cell phone to make sure that they stay in school and graduate. That's the initiative of the government.
Who you said they're going to be assigned cell phone?
5 counties where female students will be encouraged to stay in school by giving them cell phones. Not only that, but also giving them money to take care of some personal expenses so as to keep them in school. These are some of the things that people are not communicating to the public, so people are not hearing about it.
And then that's their fault because
let me just think, so that people in the radio land who are listening will not say this man is lying over there. Go and Google on it, improving results in secondary education, the RISE program, and read the document, you see it. So this government means business about improving the quality.
I'm calling Professor Asase Zawlo to oversee the educational program in Liberia. You want to sit here near Washington, D.C. here, which of course you've really been articulating here. But Pa George, let me just bring you in here. Okay, this guy, he brought something which is good. But what I want to say here is good. But why is the Ministry of Information, for example, that's the official spokesperson, or the party itself can argue on the government policy, but the idea of everybody all over the place, it's not a job of the Minister of Presidential Affairs. You're there is to give a push. When you give the push, you transfer it to those who speak for the government. To go, I'm as a communication person, I'm talking about the chains of communication, how it's been processed. Our word there, it confuses the people. It makes the people to understand that the government is not working for them. Instead, he wants to do it to his own glorification or to solidify his political position. It's the Ministry of Information, but unfortunately, we have another cuckoo here, Eugene Fagon, who's supposed to be directing his argument on things that the government doing, and to defend it, he takes 99% of his time to bash at opposition, the opposition not doing this, and want to be forcing and all of that. Pa George, can you make a comparison? This guy who brought this, what you guys to say about Obamacare, and that's a valid argument. Facebook user is, what will you guys say about Obamacare? What can we say about George? We are lighting the city.
Let me say this. No, Obamacare, how it came about, it was a Republican opposing that healthcare plan. So the Obamacare name came from the Republican to make it look sound to the voters that Obama was forcing something on them personally. So that how can I make him about Obamacare? It was a Republican that adopted it. Okay, it was the Republican that brought on it against Obama to their people. But here's the thing. So I don't know how to compare anything when we come to Liberia and America. It's like you're comparing oranges and apples. There's no way. We just saw tonight the local house impeached Donald Trump for the action of last week. We just saw it. And hundreds of people have been arrested with people that are going to jail for 10, 20 years. You saw that, we're seeing it right here. So I don't want to compare Liberia to, I don't even want to compare America to that of Liberia. But here's the thing here.
That was smart. Why we can't compare?
I just gave you an example. I just gave you an example.
I
just give you an example. All the riots that took place in Liberia last year. When the government said they were going to prosecute people, have you seen any prosecution? Have you seen any prosecution last year? No.
Prosecution concerning what?
I just said, Mr. Professor Zawo,
Mm-hmm.
all the violence that took place last year in Liberia, Rangida, or year before, like 2017 election in Ghana's Dayland election, all those places, Yagakoba, the attack on Yagakoba, all the places, government said they were investigating. The vice president also were invaded by security personnel. The minister just they were investigating. I got yet to see anybody being prosecuted.
Yeah, but because
hold on, Professor. Hold on, Professor. I'm saying what went on here in Wednesday, we are seeing 150 persons being arrested and more to be arrested. And Donald Trump had just been impeached tonight. So I said, that is the difference with America. So I don't want to compare any like with America. But here's the thing here. The question, I will come to your question now. Only thing you see is the way the politicians in Liberia play on our people who they think don't know their left from right. This is the president project. This is the minister project. This is the legislature project. They do this thing. The poor man sitting in the village or where we say, oh yes, we'll vote when the time to vote this, you see that they may build that school. Not knowing is the money. They attach their name to it as being personal, like every to say out of the pocket. That's how they have continued to play on our people from time up to this time. It's the same thing, same miracle around. They're doing. They attach this thing to themselves. You know what they're thinking about tomorrow. Because the voter, they're not looking at it like that, but that's the thinking of the politician in Liberia. So tomorrow when election coming, oh, you see, T5 build school, Sir Joseph build hospital, but these hospitals are the private thing. Next one, when the government is undertaking the project, they will name it after the president, like the president project. So tomorrow when they're making reference, you see the president build a road, you see the president build a hospital. But further know that it is the duty of the president because they have been charged to manage the resources of the country. But the term has been personal, presented to the people that they are the one who are doing this thing.
So then let the professor come in here a little bit. Let's give me the opportunity here. We're not going to tie. So I'm wondering, is there a need that maybe the government of Liberia or institutions that are responsible revisit these entities, foundations that we embark on? I believe there's a Clark Weir Foundation, right?
Joel Howard on a foundation, Clark Weir Foundation.
On a foundation, everybody get their own foundation. Basically, is to solidify their political.
Everybody will sit down to contribute. All the business people to contribute to the Clark Weir Foundation.
Koji get
they said no.
Yeah, Koji get a road construction company, Nathaniel Maki, all of that. So the ordinary Liberian, what would be the room? What would be the space for me if I want to go do something? Because
let me correct you.
I'm coming, because if I then go into a race to do any kind of real bidding can go on before they can award these things. When you have people that are within the system, when you have all of them, I'm not saying that it's not here too. People have their own foundation, but I don't know how to set their foundations apart from the responsibility of their official duty. Do you see that, Professor, as some sort of conflict of interest? Do we need to go back to really define? I listened to the vice president. She said something on Spoon TV. Spoon TV should raise money and all of that. And I don't know whether Spoon will agree, because you're supposed to check people too.
Agree.
Okay, and that's wrong.
Agree. Money involved.
I mean, even though they agree, but I don't know what are their terms, whether there's a legal stipulation in place, and if they did that, it's wrong. I mean, they can do as an institution, they can raise the money. You as a vice president, so then the question would be, I don't want to pivot to describe myself here, based on what you're saying. If she agrees, then what she's telling me, how this foundation has been running, these are some of the wrong things that we are talking about. Professor, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, you know, I will always be very open and vocal about the vice president, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the vice president foundation enter into a contractual agreement with anyone to promote the cause that the vice president is advancing. Nothing wrong with that. I think a media institution, assuming that kind of, enter into that kind of contract, is problematic.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't think.
Not to do that for them to do the fundraiser. We want to get it clear. Anybody can. We have done several fundraisers.
For her to want to reach
according to her, Professor, you will respond. According to her, to turn responsibility in the interest of transparency. According to her, if that is the argument, then my second flip question over that question will be: wait a minute, are you telling me that they have not been transparency? That's why you must have a board of directors. You must have separate people who are not even your staffer to run the day. If they you have government where they have their foundation, but because of their position, they keep distant away from it so that you're holding. But if you're telling me that you want to turn your foundation over to me for me to manage it in order to create transparency, then that's too many questions involved.
Yeah, and like I said, she has all right to seek partnership, collaboration, inter-contractual arrangement to support her foundation. But for a media institution to allow itself to be used in that way is problematic. I think another organization would have come and provided her that support. But let me talk about this whole thing about president's project, not president project. Look, it's just a way of establishing name to the time and the project. That's it. Look, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, let me tell you something. I grew up in Kakata area. I walk along the Bonmine roads. Bonmine Road was the road leading to Bon Range, where the jammers were mining iron ore for so many years. The road was basically one lane, very dusty road. When the cars are plying the roads, when you are walking along that road and the car comes, you run off the road because the dust will be so much, it will consume you. You won't be able to see whether another car is coming. So you have to jump on the side of the road and go into the bushes just so that the dust can go by for you to come. So a distance like 1 mile was taking people like an hour or 2 hours to walk. Now you tell me something. For those people today, they're seeing the paved road over there. Doesn't matter to them that his name, they said that Ellen built the road. The main thing now, they have a paved road. They don't have to run in the bushes when a car is coming and passing. Now, you look at it, for example, you're talking about the street lights in Monrovia. The streets are dark. If this president, under this president's initiative, the streets are lit out. It reduces crime, it provides opportunity for people to be able to come outside and experience the moon and everything. You think for the ordinary person, it matters that they say, George, we have project? No, they want it. These are infrastructure. These are development that they have been denied. They've been denied of for centuries.
Professor, let me hold you there.
Look how backward your country is. Look how backward your country is. Look how backward it is. Look at it. Calculate the number of paved road that was constructed by Todman, Tolbert combined. You know how many miles of paved road they built combined? Do you know?
I get that with the Ministry of Public Works.
Look it up. Check out what the Todman government. When did they ever think about building school in your village you come from?
Okay. George, 1 second. I will come to you here. No. To do our thing, and that's what I like our follower. They also fact check out our statements, our comments, and they have all right to do that because everybody listen here. This is one of our vault follower here, and once your comment is or your statement is in the context of civility, whether it's for all or against, we don't have no problem. We got to put it up as it is. We issue ourselves to must be held accountable. This is Vinicius Mulby. Say, Mr. Soe, she is using Spoon Foundation and not Spoon TV and television. Okay. If she's here, because my understanding, Spoon, they do have a foundation. They have been doing a lot of giveaway there in Liberia. It's indisputable, doing a very extraordinary job. Whatever he has, he's trying to give back to the community. Okay, if she's using the Spoon Foundations as, maybe I need to go back to that tape again, like Venetia's brought to our attention, because Spoon does have a foundation. So then that's a different thing, because the foundation, I believe, Staton, the foundation, the work of the foundations is kind of is different from the network. If that is the case, and I hope, because we just want them to do the right thing, they are our leaders, because the more they do the right thing, we can emulate the citizenry can get from them here. But before you come in, Pa George, Mason being quiet a little bit. Mason.
Yeah, Mr. So.
Yeah, Professor Zablo has reconstructed this monument, things that we are talking about here. And I think, and that's what I like to have a dialogue with him, because he will listen and listen. And then when he comes on, he kind of give a reconstruction. He will reconstruct. He's an engineer by profession, all of that. So that's a true thing. Okay, somebody said that is true. Okay, so no. So is the professor got that right? Are you in agreement with me on that?
I'm not in agreement with the professor on that.
Why are you always not in agreement with this professor? Why is the
I love the professor articulations of some of the facts. Like, for example, the professor agreed that the information ministry or the information minister is not putting the right and the good information out for people to have, so that we can know what the government is doing. But I differ with the good old professor when he stand there and tell me that because the president is building the road, become the president project. So, and just imagine, everything this president does is the president project. The light is the president project. The road is the president project. Pretty soon, everything is the president's project. There is nothing that the government is doing. Everything is the president's private initiative. Now, then I get confused when the president gets up and say that he will pay every student, he will pay the WIAC fee. It obviously tell me that it's the government that is paying the WIAC fee. It's not the president's personal money. The students need to be excited for that. Again, government is taking care of the citizen. Let the people know that, look, under this president, we, the government, we are doing this, and we are doing this because we have extra cash to do it. That's all. Rather than everything, the president's project, the president project. Look, Professor or Mr. So, let us begin here. If the president takes his earning, his salary, and invest it into a group of students, that is the president's project. If the president takes the revenue of the country and invest it into a school, that's not the president's project. That's the government responsibility to build schools. That's the government responsibility to keep the school functioning, to put all the equipment in the school. That's the government responsibility. It's just like my son got to go to school, I buy all his or supply. They are staying in front of the border. I send my son to school. Who's my son to school? Who's supposed to send your children to school? Who's supposed to take your children to the hospital? Look, this is the government responsibility. It is no glory for the president to claim. I agree. Under his administration, he is accomplishing things, but let him start branding it his property. And before I be quiet another bit, let me say it this way. It is true the vice president, listening to the clip myself, the vice president turned it over to the foundation. That was what she said in the clip. And that was what I was about when you said this, when you were talking, I was coming in to make that correction or to give that information that she said, the Spoon Foundation and not the Spoon TV and radio. Okay. So let us just be happy that I agree that the government is accomplishing things and the people will benefit. The people will not bother themselves later on down the line about who did it. They will be enjoying the benefit of it, and that's good. But let's stop branding it the president.
Okay. I think we have settled out those, and Venetius, and thank you, Mason, for bringing that here, because once it's turned over to the foundation, they do have a foundation. One is turned over to the foundation, and then that's a valid argument because they can coordinate, and in order to, and of course, network.
But Mr. So, I think if at the last time we listened to the VP, this foundation had been running for some time. So what happened to the books? She's just turning it over now. So what happened? Can we see the book? Although yes, she said she had been running it.
Well, we were seeing
because her statement in there was she wants to be transparent, and she said the foundation had been running for some time. So the next question is, where is the book? Since at the time she was solely in charge, because she didn't need no board of directors. I didn't know her board of director. So if it's solely she was running.
All kinds of person eating or the cat eating baby right now.
That's what that's me. So,
Mr. George, what if she says it's not your business?
No. Public funds. People donate to it. The accountability.
The people who do, did you donate to her? I mean, let's face it.
I just heard about it today. I just heard about it last week.
If our donors are not raising concern about how she managed her
family, you using the legal term when you are not here, don't talk.
But what I'm saying is that what standing do you have?
No. Hold on. Let's do it so the folks too can understand.
Yeah. What you say?
What you say?
Mr. Josh. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Josh, even in legal settings, you must have a standing to sue.
But that's the question I'm asking you.
You have a standing the question. You have no standing in it. You're not a contributor to her foundation. She runs her foundation. She decides on. So, and you know, I'm very critical of the vice president usually. So she decides. Why would you think that she should show you her books? On what basis?
Now the question, okay, valid point. But here's the thing here. Why I speak about transparency? She got money from the public.
Mr. George is not
Hold on. She's from a country. It's possible she's taking money, resources from a country.
Wait a minute. Is that hold on, Pa Josh.
Yeah.
Hold on right here. Is that a bone county solidarity you're trying to form here because she's from your county? What happened if she
That's
was
why I'm not solidarity. I try to hold. I can't. If I find solidarity, then I would start with Professor Zappo. I'm saying you see now. I should not.
But the connotation now, you are trying to form a brother and sister relationship. She's from my county, so I don't want people to blame her. So what happens to those from Maryland and other places?
No, I said I want people to blame her. I said it was Professor Zappo question that since I did not contribute, so then why ask? Then my question, my thing is, she solicited public funds. And when she solicited public funds, I do not have to come to her personally. She speak about accountability. That one I made reference that she's from Bangladesh. It's possible people from Bangladesh donating. So then why can't I question her?
So, Professor Zablo, let me bring him in here for missing to serve as the associate justice assigned to this case here. Mason does not have the good history when it comes to Professor Tai Zablo here. So when it comes to Professor Zablo here. Now, this is what the professor is saying. It's none of your business. I'm not donating, so I shouldn't ask her a question. Professor, come on. Mason, you are the presiding judge over this case.
I mean, the professor have a point, but not even legally. He has a sentimental point.
Okay? You have a what?
A sentimental point.
Okay.
Okay. Other sentiment he made a statement because so long as a public business where you solicit money from the public, a person doesn't have to be a donor to call you to question. If the person raise an interpreted issue such as accountability, it is incumbent upon you as an entity to display that accountability because that person is a part or could be a part of the beneficiary, directly or indirectly. So in that situation, you will have to come forth and you will have to come clean. A failure to come clean, if you come and you're not clean, that's a problem. So yes, it is true that she may not be obligated to George as a person, but she is obligated to the public to display accountability.
She's using the country name. She's using the country name Liberia.
No. She's not using the country's name. Her foundation is called Starfish Foundation.
Starfish.
Let me also add this. Let me also add it. I don't know. I cannot tell you I'm an expert on the not-for-profit law, corporation laws of Liberia. But I know in the United States you have public charities and you have private charities. When you say that she's getting public funds, no, she's getting private donations. She's not getting public funds. When you say public funds, it's totally different. That the connotation is that she's receiving money, maybe from government also. It's a private. I think her charity is a private charity. I don't think she's obligated to releasing her books to the public. I don't think so. And I may be wrong. I may be wrong because I don't have full knowledge of the not-for-profit laws of Liberia. But I may be wrong. But I don't think as a private charity, she has any obligation to release her books to the public. Now,
I have a lot of background noise. I don't know where is it coming from.
Ethically, you guys are right. Maybe if I'm in a position, I might want to show my books so that other people will be more motivated to contribute. But I don't think she's under any legal obligation to.
Okay.
Professor, she said that she worked with the Ministry of Gender.
The what?
She said she works in line collaborating with the Ministry of Gender.
Your audio seems to be corrupted because I'm getting a feedback here. Yeah, let me see. I should get you and see what I can come back. Let me. Let me get off and come back.
Man, giving me hard and just cut him off.
Okay, let me play this here. That was a little brief interaction with the vice president during one of my trips in Liberia. At that time, it was really hot political tensions, and the vice president chose not to because when we met her, the folks, the aides, and I visioned that. I saw that vividly. And the vice president said, no, I don't want to talk about politics, which is unusual, occupying the high-profile political office. But this is what the vice president, brief essence we have with our Liberia Public Radio. And it's like it was the same stuff I was wearing. Let's have this instead.
Good afternoon, I'm Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio, based in the USA, but currently visiting Liberia, here in the nation's capital of Monrovia. Today, we are in the offices, actually the conference room of Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, 2 terms, Senator of Bon County, now is the number 2 president of the Republic of Liberia, Dr. Joel Howard Taylor. The last time I interviewed her was during the senatorial race 2 times, but this time it's in a different capacity. Madam Vice President, thank you for granting us this opportunity.
Thank you. This is an opportunity for me, and welcome.
Thank you so much. And we want to say a big thank you to the staff that helped us to facilitate this process. They have been filling up with information, and that has given the diaspora community the opportunity to know exactly what is happening. But this time around, Madam Vice President, I hope not to dwell on the politics, but some of the things that you are doing and that have claimed the attentions of the diaspora community in terms of your advocacy of gender-based violence and the starvation process. A lot is not being said about this within the diaspora community. And I've talked to a lot of women, there are a lot of followers who are hoping to get little details of the program. What can you tell us about that?
Well, as Vice President, I had several brainstorming meetings with staff as to how we would proceed. You know, the office of the Vice President is the second office. We are supportive of the office of the President. And so our sphere of work is in supporting the national focal agenda of His Excellency the President. However, I have a passion for things involving women empowerment, and sexual and gender-based violence is one of those issues that tear women away from their greatest potential.
Why, I hate to interrupt, why is this so dearest to you? But from time to time I follow your activity, and this seems to be like a bullet point, this seems to be like the argument you have been making from time to time. Why is it so important to you?
If you've ever met a girl or a woman who's been raped or sexually abused, it changes your whole perception of what life is. Truthfully, those who are perpetrators of sexual and gender-based violence are considered members of the family, close friends, close relatives. Most times it's people living in the same vicinity or in the same home. And you can imagine a young child who feels comfortable because you're not in the street. When you step out into the street, you know there's danger, and so you're more aware. You take better care. You are careful.
Okay, that was a little. That's the tape is no longer. We still have that documentary. One of the things she's very media friendly, very particularly, and except that they didn't want to do any of politics. I want to focus on her foundations, and we had a time to even visit there as well. But this year, Professor Tai, you listen to her, and you kind of give a little bit brief overview. But I think it does matter in terms of for transparency, business, knowing the history, how monies has been misdirected. Even here, people raise money to no proper accountability. That's a serious crime here if that happens. So should we go back to our rules on the book to kind of reinforce the entire foundation, how they operate, and there must be a fine line of demarcation because, and she's actually the founder, but they have people that are running it. So I have no questions about that. But we also have people who are running foundation, use this foundation name to do other things, which itself is wrong.
Let me tell you something. To get foundations in Liberia to be transparent and to hold them accountable, it will require a lot of work in so many ways. First of all, if you're going to go to Liberia to even register a foundation, the process of registering a foundation is already corrupted. So if the person has to pay a bribe to get a foundation registered, what do you think? That person is going to be obligated to providing records and all those things? So there are a lot of issues associated with foundation. And I'm speaking from experience. So yeah, like I said again, all I was saying to Mr. George is that we can't just come up swinging and asking people who run private foundations, private charities to come and open their books or so. Because they're not really on an obligation. I repeat it, they're not on an obligation. But
when you say they're not on an obligation, that I find a little bit.
No, that's a private charity. It's a private charity.
Private charity?
Yeah, you have public charity, you have private charity. You got to go back and check it out. Even in the US, yeah, you have public charity, you have private charity. Yeah, you have them. Yeah, they don't have the same benefits. I think
so are you saying she's not on an obligation to make full disclosures of who her funders, or donors are? Is that what you're saying?
As a president, as a vice president of the country, there might be stipulations that might compel her to reveal who her donors are in interest of national security. But I don't think generally she has an obligation to tell the people, I don't think she has an obligation to Mr. George and Mr. Amazing to open her books and let him see it every time. No, I don't think so.
But because you perceive that they are not donors, so they got
no standing.
Let me say this, Professor. Let me say this to you. Madam V.B. Taylor, she's serving in her private capacity and has a private organization, private charity. I will never ask her. But when she's serving as vice president and has a charity, as a librarian, she open explanation because she served as vice president. First thing, that's a conflict of interest. Okay, so based on that, that's why I'm speaking from. If she was a private citizen, I got nothing to do with her. As long as she's serving as vice president and has a charity, there's a conflict of interest, and I think I have the right, or any librarian has the right to question her about her donation and those who she's serving. Moreover, she mentioned that she's working in line with the ministerial agenda, which is a government institution. So those are points that I'm raising, that she has to be accountable to the Liberian people with that charity. If she's serving as Mrs. Taylor, I got no question to ask her when she's running a private charity. When she's running a public charity, then of course she receives money from government. Then still I will question her.
In addition,
so it's unfortunate. Whether public or private charity, your documentation indicates that you are serving the people. You are serving a cause, an affected group of people in the country. The vice president said that she is working alone with abused women. So let's look at it from that base point. And if so, if my daughter is abused and I go to the charity and can't get redress, I got the right to call to take that private entity to court to prove why she said that she's serving the people and she's not. What happened with the fund that comes in? I got the right to do that as a citizen, because the idea of public or private is to help people who cannot afford. That's the idea of the charity. It's a free service. You are saying, look, I'm offering these free services, counseling. I'm getting counseling, or I'm helping out with lawyers, or I'm helping out with shelter. So if in case the people need it and they go to your charity and you are not providing it, they got a right to take you to court, because you are misleading the people. You are misleading the people. That's not what it is. You are misleading the people. And
no, listen, let distinguish this thing here.
Yeah.
If you're running a private organization, a charity, money money comes from you. You solicit funds from outside. So if there's anything you talk, is maybe your board of directors or those who make that direct contribution to that private entity. Those are the people you owe explanation. If somebody came to you for help and you cannot provide, you are not on no obligation. That is the distinction. But when you're running a public entity, a private or public charity, government gave you solid funds from government and other individuals. So that makes you accountable to the people. Government can order your board. Your board of directors can ask you what you did with the funds. So that's the distinction between private and public charity. So if the VP come up to say question running is private, I got no question to answer. But when she's serving as VP and having any organization, I have the right to question her, because first is conflict of interest, and she can use her in her position to select us from government institutions and other private businesses, because fear of if they don't do so, there might be a reprisal from her. Look at her position. So that was a professor. No, I mean, I'm okay, but I was saying about that. We need to see the books. She got to tell her what she's running.
Yeah, if she's running a public charity, Mr. George, you already defended my case, so I don't even have anything to say. I mean, I don't wish anything wrong for Mr. Mason's daughter, but I wish that situation was there and he took a case like that to court.
So, Professor, before I bring in Anthony here, what is his name? Sir George has a valid point. We know how in the third world countries, political leaders and authority, they use their power, they use their political persuasion to influence decision making. We don't even know whether it's being subsidized by government or whether our taxpayer money is also embedded into that. There are a lot of things. So she needs to come clean. The idea, whether it's a private or a public, I think the vice president, she needs to open her book. And even if she's turning it to Spoon Foundation, which is a good thing, which is a wise thing, perhaps at the time, but she didn't know who to run it. But considering her political positions as the number 2 person to have a foundation, to have a charity, I think it must come clean and people must see it. So we need to know that. Anthony Gay.
Yes, Mr. So good evening to every one of you, and thanks for having me.
Okay, with the last maybe 15 or 20 minutes to go, you've been throwing some sound bites out there.
I know.
It's no strange because ANC and CDC don't pull. You are ANC guard. The professor is a sedition. Pajoy, she said he's what? Pajoy, are you an independent or where? Which way you are? Where are you? Which way you stand?
Yeah, independent. You know, I go anywhere.
Man, I think I'll release the information here today to
You
everybody.
know the independent that they're joining the CPP slowly.
Yeah, the man is a Nicodemus sedition.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I don't know which you're messing for. Maybe I don't know which party. What are you in opposition or in position?
I'm independent.
Independent. We get real independent like bro. Okay, let me go back to my man Gay Anthony. Okay, Anthony.
Yeah.
You were stirring up flames on the online. Now you are here. What can you tell the professor or Pa George? Where are we going wrong? Who is going wrong here?
You know, first of all, I want to say it is a privilege and an opportunity. I'm honored to share this platform with people of that caliber to be on the platform as a young man and contribute. But Professor, one thing I would like for us to do here tonight is not to get at each other's throat, but to really speak to the facts. I know at times our personal, opinion, get into the way, but facts to be being facts. And I come from an ethical background. I like ethics, values, and principles. I'm very pragmatic, and I like to address issue as is.
There you go.
There is a saying when you go to the car dealership, a used car dealership to be precise, they say as is, meaning you buy the car as is. Any other problem there is on you, right? And that I've run with that phrase for a long time. But here's the thing: I was struck today watching the live feed on the unannounced visit by the president to various schools, and I was able during my leisure time of work to tune in and see President Weah at Tottenham, one of the famous. I love Tottenham because I've had experience with people who graduated from Tottenham and they have high IQ. So I love that school. Though I didn't have the opportunity to go to that school.
We are from there. Press we'll flog BWR 1986.
Yeah. So Tottenham has students, for the majority of them that I came across, really gave me the reason, why people talk about our school. Having said that, there was one of the professor, and if you have an opportunity, please watch that video again. I even commented on the video today. I was struck when a man said, "Mr. President, we are facing some difficult time here, and when our salary goes to the bank, there is a compulsory $50 that is withheld, and there gotta be something done about it." And the president, even though the president is not a finance minister or financial expert, what have you, but his response struck me, and here's what he said to this man: "You should learn how to save." I don't think in the United States, the great United States, people live here by paycheck to paycheck. All right. So for the president to look at the man, $50 United States dollar coming out of a paycheck, that's huge in a struggling time in Liberia. And I was struck by the response from the president and said, "But when I was 19 years old," he said, I'm paraphrasing, "I started saving." Well, your circumstances and this man's circumstances, Mr. President, with all due respect, are not the same. I just think that it will be better sometimes he doesn't say anything and say, "Okay, I hear what you have to say. We'll look into these things," and just walk away. But to flat out look in the face of a man with a family and say, "Learn how to save," I just think it was on top of the line. Now, with the issue with the VP, yes, my ethical hat. Let me put my ethical hat on now. You cannot run concurrently or private entity or non-for-profit or foundation while you are a sitting lawmaker or vice president. Here's the reason why. There's a conflict of interest. There are so many other things. You can have the foundation running, not in your care. What we saw the VP doing is launching the foundation. They even played the project video sketch on Spawn TV where she was soliciting donation. It is completely unethical. We may not have a law on the books in Liberia for that, but you cannot be receiving taxpayer dollars as your salary and run your own project on the side. You cannot do that. That is a complete violation of the code of conduct of Liberia. And in much that she may have a good intention, the optics were wrong. She have great intention. She want to help those girls who were, victimized in the process of rape, which of course I applaud. There are tons and tons of competent people in Liberia that she can entrust with her project, and that project can go along, and everyone would appreciate the effort. But to be a vice president of the Republic of Liberia, at the same time concurrently running a non-for-profit organization, that's below the belt. I mean, let's think about this. No one has to tell you she's well-schooled, well-educated woman, very smart. But I just think that she needs to be told that you cannot solicit donation. Only in Liberia, those things will happen, and they will fly with it. You do that in a developed country, you pay the price. And I don't think Liberia should always be absorbing this kind of unethical behavior from our leaders. And so, in much as our intention are good and wanting to help, I can feel the zest inside of her wanting to help. But again, defer that responsibility to somebody else. And that is my take on that.
Let me just ask you one question. What about the president?
What happened to your volume tonight, Pa George? You said again?
I'm asking what happened to the president?
The first lady, Claudia, yeah. I also stated the same thing. I wrote an article, a post about the first lady also launching a foundation called She's You. That's her foundation name, She's You. Again, all of these things that are good ideas, good initiatives, but your role prohibits you from doing certain things. I don't know if people understand public office, public responsibility as opposed to personal responsibility. They gotta be able to understand there's a distinct line, because you are being paid by taxpayer money. When we say taxpayer, so like people can say, but how many people are paying tax? So long a business pay a tax to the government use that money, that's considered taxpayer dollar. So long somebody get paid and the government deduct tax out of the salary, that's taxpayer dollar. Money that is not your personal money because you work for the government and the government paid you that money. You can't do any sort of business with it, or you cannot be occupying. How do we know that when a vice president goes speak somewhere, she does not use Liberia need in the same process and also soliciting donation to her foundation? How do we separate the first lady, honor the office of the first lady, and then soliciting donation for her personal project or foundation? That's the reason why these things have to be separated. That's the sole purpose, because you traveling and your traveling privileges is under the Liberian first leadership or the Liberian vice president term. You get that leverage, that freedom to travel on that diplomatic level to receive all the diplomatic, amenities that come with it. And then on the same token, you're gonna run a non-for-profit organization that is completely clear conflict of interest. This is the reason why people always say, perfect example, before Donald Trump took office, he deferred all of the business activity to somebody else. Hillary Clinton, before she ran to be president, she deferred all of her responsibility of the Clinton initiative to somebody else. Okay? You have to separate your stuff. I am not against them of the initiative. I am just against the process because of the holding public office at the same time running the initiative.
Okay, so let's put lock on here. Professor, I think what we are trying to do here to get an understanding, nothing wrong with presidents or the first lady. We're saying that here, the Clinton foundations and all of that, the Bushes and even Obama now, all of that. Nothing wrong with them, but there should be a fine line here. There must be some sort of a separation here. There must be some sort of independence to bring transparency to the table, because you can be the lawmaker and be the law broker, or you can be the administrator and at the same time you want to hold other people to responsible here. So is it too late, or will we see the vice president, like she's saying now, responsibilities, you're going to turn these things over to the Spoon Foundation? Does it require public does it require maybe to open her books to the public so that we will see the transparency? It's important to know her donors and all of that. Do you think so?
If I was the vice president in that situation, I will open my books. All I'm saying is that she's not under obligation to do so. A second thing I wanted to clarify for Mr. Gay, I think he spoke very clearly and passionately about what should be or what should not be. I don't know whether he's aware of the existing laws on the book. What constitutes conflict of interest? How is it defined within our Liberian context? It's a beautiful thing to see the way things are done in the West. But those things may not be.
Is it not important to take the universal concept when
No. That's one of the problems we have in that's one of the problems in our society. The Western men tell you female genital mutilation is bad. And so we accept it because we are civilized nowadays. So then we start criticizing our culture. We start to desecrate our shrines and our beliefs. Now, let me also say this to you. So if I was the vice president, I would open my books like that. Now, Mr. Gay talked about being practical and pragmatic. I had the opportunity to sit on stage with the vice president in 2019 at the graduation of More Than Me. There was young girls graduating from More Than Me, from West Point. Two parents had no plans of where they would go next. The vice president was there. She's a strong supporter of that. More Than Me now is called Hilltop School. She's a very strong supporter. And she works so hard for those girls. For those girls, they will not care about what you're saying. Because their future hinges on the work that our vice president is doing. Then I left from that stage. A day after, I went to Kakata-Magili County. And I'm not saying this to boast of myself. And I had a meeting with the principal of Kakata, of Lango Lpr School, Mr. Morris Prawinen. And he told me, he said, besides you, the only person who is helping to sustain these girls here is the vice president. Again, those girls in Kakata-Magili County that our vice president foundation is supporting could care less about all the things you are talking about here. The vice president is filling an important void. And public officials who have foundations, we should be applauding them, because you know what? You talk about conflict of interest. That conflict of interest is something that can attract resources to meet a need that you and I and many other people are not filling up around yet. So let's be very careful. A vice president of Liberia, we know what kind of support she could garner. You can generate that support. I mean, I'm not able to do it, but just that she's able to do it. In a society like our situation, we're not the United States of America. We're not Great Britain. Let's not ignore our peculiar circumstances. These people are contributing. They are filling the void. Claire Marie Weir is filling the void. Joel Howard Taylor is filling the void. I will encourage them to be more open in terms of the way they do their business. But I don't think we should be very careful when talking about they should not open this thing. They should not do it. No.
Professor, I think you misunderstood me. I didn't say they shouldn't do it.
You said they shouldn't do it while they're in office.
No. I said they cannot run the foundation while they're in office. They can defer the responsibility to somebody else. That's what I said.
I would say no to that, because guess what? There's star power. Her affiliation with that would generate a lot more than another person being there. It will be a totally different situation.
So
those people are
she can be bold.
So you would rather somebody violate your code of conduct because
what is it? You didn't talk about code of conduct. There's no
check the code of conduct of Liberia.
Bring it here. Can you bring
check the code of conduct of Liberia, Mr. Soe? Can we have a follow up to this segment another day so we can bring the code of conduct and peruse it together so that our viewing audience can make a determination.
What I'm going to do, I already placed a call to the vice president. I'm waiting for them to answer because I intend to go further from the interview with Spoon TV, and I'm of hope because she's not a person that shy away from the media. I'm hoping that we'll get a response very soon, and we're going to delve into that. And that has to do with her foundation, how she wants to transition this the foundation. But I think here it's a good conversation, except that the old man time is not in our favor again.
I know, right?
Yeah, so we started here by 8:20, by 10:15. Already 10:15, 10:20. We're going to be winding down here. But just what you said, we got to go back to it, and not just only her, even to. So I probably need to find out who is the head of that foundation. They can come, but again, when it comes to that, more or less, they don't like to dwell on politics. But there's a need that they come out open to know exactly what they are doing. All we are trying to do is to make sure, because we want to know the demarcations of whether nothing is interfering with their official duty as well. That is very, very, very much crucial. But I also in favor of her making full disclosure. If this foundation is to be transitioned to be managed by Spoon Foundation, then we must know where she's taking it from to where she's carrying it, because it's part of the transparency. And maybe we need to find people who's best to do it. But George, you wanted to make a point before we wrap up?
Yeah. What I'm saying here is not because these people are bringing some good to the society, so we cannot question accountability. Okay, if we don't do so, then it means that we are going down the road, a slippery slope. You want the small man there to be accountable, but you don't want to hold the big man up there accountable. Then it's two set of rules for people, which are found. The issue about the first lady. Let me say this: the first lady. I think it was year last year. I had usually myself that I know something about. He came after me. She was in the office. So some delegation came from China in the office of the president, and she was there representing the office of the president. And I questioned. I said, "In what capacity is she representing the president? Is it special aid to the president, or what role is she playing?" And usually, Pakistan told me she was just ordinary person. And I said, no, she has a title. The first lady got a budget. And there are visiting delegation, visiting people in the country, and she did. So I want to know. Then sell it. They had a right for her fundraiser at the City Hall. All the government people had the right to go to her foundation, Claudia Foundation. Now, if you say you are business and you don't show up, you don't think they'll come after you tomorrow? They'll definitely come after you. Because if you want something to say, you didn't show up, we didn't see at the first day fundraising, contractor. These are the conflicts of interest we're talking about. And let me say that. Professor can say where they helping people, but my conviction is that even though you help people, once you receive money from the public, you must be accountable to the public. Okay, and that's my point I want to make.
Okay, gentlemen, we gotta wrap it up now. It's a walkabout. I can see the momentum. I sent that link from the onset of it, but
yeah, I wasn't paying attention, man. I'm sorry.
I
gotta know your schedule. I like their schedule, you know.
Well, no, we always
be ready. You can say, oh, you're at work. So
the man was paying attention. The man was watching us to kind of get us hard.
And I it, maybe Professor Zarlo twisted around. I don't know what was.
You know, Professor Zarlo, I wouldn't come here for you because I like to interact with you. He can be saying the thing like, you know, it's the smoothest thing ever. But you know, let's see. I don't hate President Weah, right? I don't even hate the CDC. For me, if I have to advise this president, only two things I will advise this president to focus on right now: our economy and electricity. You and I and the rest of the other Liberians are struggling right now. When you send money to your sibling, you're doing business in Liberia,
on the water system.
You cannot
I said, why
the
not
process.
use the tier one, the water, to get a good water system?
But you know, I
Yeah,
think
but when you have electricity, water will follow because the water system need electricity to push the water pressure through the pipes.
that's
So
right.
yeah, so you know, so the electricity will push the water through. That's how you get the water pressure coming through the pipeline. If no electricity, you can't get the water tower functioning right. You know, but here is the thing: we need one currency in Liberia. The Sierra Leone is not valuable than the Liberian dollar, neither as the Naira or the cedi. Those people are using their money not because they have stuff on the world market. The banking sector need to control it. If you want to do business in Liberia, do business in Liberian dollar. You come out of the country, you go to central bank and buy a US dollar and fly out of the country. Simple as that. We don't have to have iron ore being bought or rubber being sold out of the country before we can use our currency. All those things are as top economists, and I'm not an economist, and I top economist, I say, what does it take for the country to use hard currency? And I was told that monetary and fiscal policy by the national or central bank of your country. That's what it takes. That's all it takes.
Okay. So, guys, we got to call it. Mason, let me go to you, your final words, and I will go to Professor for us to wrap it up.
Thanks, gentlemen, for a nice evening. We come here, we agree to disagree. I agree with the fact that, okay, the vice president is not under obligation, but I also think morally and legally she can make her case, even though she's doing something is right to help the people, but she cannot be in the office and do it. But if our government and our country allows it, our laws allows it, then she has the blessing. When it comes to the president, I just wish that he stopped all this presidential project using the Liberian budget, the Liberian money, and tagging it, Joey project, and not his project, but taking our money to do the work. Let him not do it.
All right.
I'll see you next time.
Okay. By the official expressions and their laughter being exhibited here, Professor, I see Pa George Anthony already formed alliance with Benson, with Mason here on the. Professor, what are we taking home this evening?
First, just what I want to take home. I'm gratified. Very appreciative of the fact that we could gather tonight. Exchange ideas, be on different sides of the aisles in a very respectful way. And so that's good. Let's continue to have these kind of discussions and debate. Look, I tell you one thing. I learn from you guys every time I'm here. I take notes, and I factor those things, in my thought. I share with other people who are all fighting in this cause to make our country better. I'm normally driven by what empowers, what elevates, what supports our people. And Mr. Soe knows it, and I repeat it always. One of the things I told people when I ran to be president of ULA, I said, when I become a president of ULA, one of the first things I would have done would be violating the Constitution in the interest of the organization. And I'm not a person who believes in rules or obeying rules or observing rules. I observe rules as long as those rules will meet the ultimate goal of improving the living condition of our people. When it's not, I don't care about it. And that's the same kind of line that I try to take tonight. For most young girls in Liberia, the situation is very, very disheartening. People like Joel Howard Taylor, people like Claire Marie Weah should be applauded for what they are doing. Likewise, President Weah, for some of his big initiatives that he has done in our country. Like I talk about the girls being able to get cell phones shortly and receiving support to keep them in school. Those are things that are remarkable. And we should be applauding them for that. And I guess we should see more of that happening. Because the situation of Liberian women and girls is very, very, very deplorable. The United Nations says this: a woman who receives a fifth grade education, that's a fifth grade education, is more likely to see her child live to pass his or her fifth birthday. When a person has less than that, the likelihood for that child exceeding the fifth birthday, it reduces significantly. So people like those who are keeping girls in school, trying to get women to get education, we should be applauding them and not be too critical of them and, focusing on some draconian Western style.
This guy is taking a liberal line. He's taking a liberal line here this evening.
I almost said I wear something too.
Right, so,
Okay, so gentlemen, time has caught up with Oya. This is what I want us to do for Friday evening. Professor, I think this professor will buy into this other soundbite here. For the most part, we try to plug the eyes of the government. Of course, they are the ones over the wheel. Mr. Dennis, quite a long time, and hopefully I will reach out here and see whether he can join us here Friday evening here. Professor, this guy, Anthony Gay, and his two allegedly claim to be independent, according to their own word. Why not we take a good and comprehensive revision about who these people, the opposition, be it the CPP, the collaborative, and all of this. We need to take a comprehensive revisions of their agenda. That is unknown. You know, we are buying another pea in the basket here. Just how you guys told us everything going to be a peanut butter and jelly, only for them to start mixing it with some sand and gravel and all of that. We have
jam in it. We put jam in it, so it's even sweeter.
Okay, are you all for that? We need a critical revision of the.
Mr. So, you're not buying a pig in a bed with CPP. You already know who Alexander Comey is. You already know who Baka is. You already know who.
I don't know.
Dominican is.
You were one of those who were very instrumental. I had a 5-minute whatever interview. But there are still people who still shit into Mr. Alexander Comey, who are so selective which network to go to. He preferred maybe going to or Sekou Kane because of their political ties and all of that. But
I told you,
let you happy again.
I could make you talk to Mr. Cummings one-on-one, and you did. You have more than 30-minute one-on-one with Mr. Cummings.
Starting out, not telling me, man.
You know what?
Well, but you had one-on-one with him. But
the conference about you or no deal.
We want to use a good officers to get Mr. Comey and Mr. Gay. Use a good.
We can reach out to him and he can come on here. Mr. Comey does not shy away from the media.
Mr. Cummings will not come yet. Mr. Cummings will not come yet.
Why? He interviewed Mr. Cummings one-on-one. Mr. So interviewed Mr. Cummings one-on-one.
Listen, they didn't even go 10 minutes. You say the conference were about to start. I was doing that, then somebody was training me time like, what's going on?
But what? Seriously, you didn't complain then. Now you complain on your show.
No, I was grateful to you.
But let me say this.
Let's just start with CPP. Let's get to this opposition. I'm waiting for that day so we can bring this opposition up under the microscope. Let us look.
Senator Darius DeLong, I had an interview with him at the time he was looking for the job. I told George Lobo I want to talk to the VP. The person I think I can give credit when he was contesting 2017 was Benin Ayura. He was very, very much open. But nowadays, everybody get a little chihuahua and everybody talking now, so they prefer the feel more secure because they want to have a friendly question.
First of all, have you sent an email to Mr. Cummings?
You see there.
I'll make the email address available. You send in your email communication. If you turn it down, then at least you made a try and turn it down. But until then, hold your comment.
Okay. All right.
If you want Cummings to come, bring him to Minnesota. Let 5 presidents come there for a convention, and he will come.
Look at that.
Okay,
that was the Cummings of the past. Right now, Cummings comes to any United States state, it will be more than 1,000 people seeing him. The man just wants seats. What you want to say?
I think it's
who?
I asked Professor, how can he make person we are available to FPR?
There you go. Can you get me a person? We are just 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Here's the thing. The president is heavily involved with state matters, so we can make.
Here comes the bureaucracy.
Put your disposal of Minister McGill. Dispose of Minister McGill.
When I was going like, bro,
I can work with Minister McGill to come, but the president is very busy with.
I can do that because McGill. This is what McGill told me. McGill asked me to draw out. What you want to talk to the president for? I like what? Can you send out the question? I like, give me a
on,
do you think like Lpr-Tv, Sherman Brown, yes or no contest? Yeah, I can give you an outline on the specific we want to talk about, but for me to put a great lock on myself to draw.
Mr. So, let me tell you something. I have an experience in dealing with international media. Sometimes you can do it. It depends on your leverage. I have dealt with international media. I made them to do what I wanted them to do.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fair to have an outline.
But we certain media person will not do it. Certain media personnel will not do it.
No, it's fair.
I dealt with media persons in the world, and I made them to do what I wanted them to do.
I agree. I know it. But I say certain media person will not do it.
It can be the identical questions. I can give you a synopsis of what I want to talk about, how the question is going to look alike. Or I can do an outline. Okay, I want to talk to you on this XYZ. Fair to mention, so that it can have a.
Okay, Mr. So, you know what we do? Let's bring Minister Toy here first before the president. Can Minister Toy come here for at least 30 minutes?
Yeah, Mr. Toy can come. He can come. I can explore that. He can come.
Okay, bring him here first.
Mr. Toy can come.
I'll be waiting for him.
Before Cummins come?
No. That is not a bargaining chip. I told you we would send out email first. We send out an email to him. If he doesn't respond, then we know we reach out. If he didn't respond.
On the independent side, who you want to come? Who you want to bring here to? You say independent man.
Who?
George.
I got no personality.
Yeah. I'll get paid my $9.95 and get all the docs here right here in front of me.
I get a message right here from Fanatic Copa.
I think Big Ball 1 and Big Ball 2 right now they are independent.
Okay,
I know about that.
I know about that. Mason, who you want to see here?
I want to host the CPP. I want to host CPP yet.
What is the question about the CPP?
How you want to
Mr. So, let me tell you something. One of the very interesting guests we have here could be Yeke Kuluba. Let's try to explore and bring him here.
Let me say it this way. CPP
I have people. I have reached out.
4-1 is
Some of the information, right? Fair to mention.
Methodology.
The opposition, the government people, they myself will talk one-on-one.
So are you saying Mr. Cummins is part of the example you just gave?
Yes. Mr. Cummins can sit down and agree instead of taking the people, each person to
all right, gentlemen.
Mr. Cummins has to tell that he's the football like a Liberian. I don't even think the man's a Liberian.
Okay.
You want to Obama American.
Good night, folks.
He doesn't have Liberian citizenship.
Please have a pleasant night.
Just like mine, father was born in Liberia. Cummins people from Nigeria.
Man.
Oh, that you say that.
Okay, guys.
Good night.
Folks, that does it this evening. I'm Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. All of our onliners, your questions, your concerns and comments. Yeah, Mr. Ben said it. My invitation been out to you for 4 or 5 years. So these are the people, they prefer to go somewhere they think they're going to have a walkthrough. But it's still open out there, Mr. Dennis, I want to reach out to you and let us have this discussion. I think the government, the opposition, these people, we need to hold them accountable. We can't allow it to slip away. This is what CDC told us. Everything going to be bread and butter. They were going to bring change. So we can't dwell on the argument or the mistakes of the government now and just think everything is all well with the oppositions and just take them to their word. they need to start telling us exactly what they're going to be doing. The senatorial race, now we are overpassed it. And so they need to tell us exactly where they stand, what we need to see policy being driven to right now. I can tell you, oh, this we will do this. No. I want to see it in black and white. And hopefully that they will be available here at some point in time. So I want to thank all of you so much for being part of today's program. Until then, have a pleasant evening. Hey, my man Bent, we need to try to pick time and see here. Let's get your voice here as well.
All right, your time is now. All right, love you, all right, your time is now. I would love you, I would oh, I would love you, I'm all I would.
This is True FM. I'm in the presence of criminal lawyer, Councillor Arthur Johnson. Councillor Johnson, want to say welcome to this special interview.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. The president has come up with another new message, and you, as a criminal lawyers and as a citizen of the country, you are seen to be embarrassed by his new music. What do you make of it?
Yes, Toby, my concern is this. This is the fourth song that our president is making. It is not about questioning his talent to sing.
You've worked for months to bring your or your client's event to life, but unfortunately, the world had another plan. In reality, the only thing you lost is the venue. We take your vision for hosting a virtual conference and bring it to life online. No matter how complex your agenda is, we produce a smooth, engaging experience. Call the Liberia Public Radio today and schedule your event. Our number is 682-433-8802. If you prefer to submit your request via email, please send the request to liberiapublicradio2012@gmail.com. Our staff are standing by waiting for your phone call.